And welcome back to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. And crazy show today. I have actually done this before. I have done the show from my phone in a discreet location. Mark is doing the same today. Mark, how are you feeling?
Well, let me tell you, right now I feel good. This is the crazy aspect because I am at University of Pittsburgh to pick up my daughter because she's coming home for the weekend because this is her birthday week. And so in the hotel, on the hotel Wi-Fi was just wonky, to say that. I was getting one bar on my phone, and I remember my tech guy, who now wears big honking headphones for some reason, said, make sure you have a good signal. So I went out to my car, I went out to the parking lot, and I was like 1 bar, 2 bars, and I don't know if it's because of the big buildings, I don't know if it's because there's a billion people around, I don't know what it's. So I just start like walking around campus to try to find a place, because I was like, I'll do the show from anywhere because I don't know anyone here, so I can't embarrass myself. So I'm sitting on a park bench in like this field all by myself, and all of a sudden I hear this, what are you doing here? I look up and there's my kid. So of all the people on campus to walk past me was my daughter. So she's like, well, here, we can get back to my dorm, and we have good Wi-Fi signal. Now, she's in the honors dorm because she's a nerdy kid. So like when you and I, the dorms that we were in, where you had 2 beds, 2 desks, and a couple closets where you kept your stuff, they have that. But they also have a living room. They have like a eating kitchen, or no, they have a dinette, and then they have a part of the living room where the table is. They have 2 full bathrooms. Like, this is absurd. Did I lose you? Are you frozen? Am I frozen? I can't hear you. So this is the point. I don't know if I should just keep talking. But for your dorm experience as to my dorm experience, this is very, very different. And now you've gone black and I'm the only one I can see. But anyway, I'm in Pittsburgh. It is hot here just like it is everywhere else. And unfortunately, now I don't see anything. Unfortunately, I missed the high school football game tonight. But yeah, Pittsburgh is a neat city. It's much neater than you would think. And are we on or are we not on?
We're on.
I can't tell.
So first,
did you hear any of that I just
babbled through? I heard a lot of it. Let me say this first about the headphones. First of all, I'm excited about these headphones. One, not only are they fantastic, and obviously they're obnoxiously big. However, I have really big ears, which I don't know if you've ever noticed before or not. So these are the first pair that are actually like comfortable, like they actually sit over my ears. It's not like pinching them. But the main reason I got these is, I don't know if you know this, I share an office with somebody, and these are actually noise canceling. So not only do they block the noise when you're listening to stuff, even if you're not listening to anything, you can just put them on and they actually filter the sound, like they block it. So I am excited about this for my work environment.
Well, see, this is what I would say about that. You are now, by blocking out all the knowledge that comes from the person you share an office with, they're not only noise canceling, they're intelligence canceling. So you have just become dumber by buying those headphones.
You should work for their marketing team.
Knowledge
blocking headphones.
And this is how intelligent you are. You break out the noise canceling headphones to cancel out your office roommate the day he's 4 hours away in a different city.
I got them yesterday. I got them last night, actually. I was so excited. I was like, you know what? I'm way too excited. I'm going to wear them today anyway. So, I'm just not going to try to make excuses.
Just as the pure fashion statement. That's why you wore them today.
I don't even know if it's the pure fashion statement. I'll tell you what, they are comfy. Like, you're going to try these on and you're going to be like, I need a pair of these.
Where'd you get them?
Online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm the reason, all the logistical backup and people ordering stuff. I'm probably the reason. Somebody didn't get what they needed today because I had to have these headphones before Friday.
And you couldn't just hop in a car and go to a normal store.
Do you ever think about that? Like when you're ordering something and it's just not useless, but it's not that important. And you click on the 2-day shipping and you're getting this thing that you don't need. And something else is being on hold. Like something else is getting pushed to the back of the line. Do you ever think about that?
First of all, pretty much everything I order online is useless. And maybe not useless, but unimportant. and things are falling off the wall. And no, I never get the 2-day shipping. I only get it if it's like Christmas and I'm desperate. I always like whatever the cheapest shipping rate is, because that's how valuable it is. And I'm just like, whenever it gets here, I'll get it.
So you're on a college campus. Quick question. You walked in with your daughter and you called it a dorm, and your daughter was very quick to correct you and say apartment.
Dude, there are 2 full bathrooms in this apartment. 2.
Okay.
There's only 3 students, and 1 student isn't even here yet. It's built for 3. One girl decided to do it remotely, so they had to go through the process of trying to figure out who gets here. So she just told me there's 1 coming, but she's not here yet. But yeah, I mean, when I lived in Baltimore, and this is 20 years ago, we paid like $1,200 a month to have an apartment with 2 full bathrooms. And, now I'm paying a lot more than $1,200 a month to send my daughter to college, but that's not the point. The point is the dorm that you were in and the dorm that I was in was nothing like this. However, I will say back in our time, we had televisions in our dorm. Nobody hears television because they don't watch TV.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. Do they even have cable? I bet you they don't even have cable hookups, do they?
I don't know. Do you have cable in here, London? They have cable, yes. Yes.
Okay. So they could get it if they wanted to.
Even at home. Now, some of my kids do watch certain things, but they just watch their laptop.
Oh, I agree with you. They'll never understand what it was like to live somewhere where your walls were cement cinder blocks. And that is like one of the most disappointing things to me. Like, until you've lived in a room, until you've been in like a 10 by 10 cinder block box, you've never actually been to college.
But the cinder blocks were always painted.
Oh, always. But I mean, painted what? Like dull beige? Like dull?
Yes.
They were painted the worst color you could paint something.
Painted cinder block dorm walls. That was living.
That was. Did you decorate your room? Like, did you have the whole posters and the jersey? And did you do any of that? Okay.
I did I remember that. Well, here, speaking of this, I bought my daughter that poster for her room at home, so that I'm the cool dad who. There we go. That's me.
The coolest.
So when my freshman year, I went to James Madison for a year and then transferred to Susquehanna. And there's Susquehanna right there. I wanted to show all the Pitt people how smart I was by wearing how smart I am. So anyway, when my first year in college, I showed up, and you barely talked to your roommate before you showed up. You talked on the phone, what time you getting there, blah, blah, blah. So I got there before he did, and I hung up a Dallas Cowboy pennant on our wall. And this was the year coming off the year Dallas was 1-15. So this took a lot of guts in Virginia to hang up, which is at the time, it's Washington football country. And so I hung up a Dallas Cowboy, and he came in and he just looked at me and he looked at the wall. And he said, "Are you a Cowboy fan?" And I said, "Yes." And he walked over and he shook my hand and he said, "Me too." And I knew right from there it was going to be fine.
That was it. That was the end of it.
Yep.
Okay. I didn't really decorate mine. I didn't really do the posters and everything. Now, once we had like an off-campus apartment, kind of jazzed it up a little bit, but my dorm room was almost blank. I could have
I was just going to say, my freshman dorm, he did almost all the decorating. And he hung 2 rock and roll posters. One was Public Enemy, which we talked about yesterday, and which I was not a Public Enemy fan. And the other was REM, which I thought was the most overrated rock band of all time, just because it wasn't really my genre. And so I got to stare at 2 posters, and every day I was like, "Dude, these guys suck," and so that made for a good time.
This is like a decent story. Like, you don't realize very subtle things until you are in a dorm and you're sharing a room with somebody you don't know. Because even if you share a room in your original house, like it's a sibling one of the first times I remember, my roommate took a shower and he left his wet towel on my bed. So my bed was just wet when I came back. And I remembered thinking to myself, like, oh, this is different. Like, this is unique. This is like, did you ever have that moment with your roommate, or you guys just like got along like nothing was wrong?
We did. My best roommate moment was he was a great guy. He was just wired a little differently. Class attendance was purely optional in his world. He was the nicest guy you ever met that was willing to get in a fist fight at the drop of a hat. Just like he thought it was fun. And he was a normal sized guy. He was like, 175 pounds. He wasn't like this, monster. He was just, and also he told so many stories that ended up in like brawls. And you would never guess it by just talking to him. But so he comes home. He was home for a weekend. He was from Southern Virginia, and he comes home and he brought apple cider, and it was like apple cider from the farm where he's at. And he was so excited that this apple cider was he was going to let it ferment, and in a short amount of time, he was going to be drinking hard cider in the dorm, and he was pumped. Because as 18-year-old freshman, there's no alcohol in the dorm, so he was just going to drink cider. He was going to beat the system. So it was in a plastic milk jug, and obviously as things ferment, it lets off gas. And this was our in-dorm science project, and it actually split the seam on one of the plastic milk jugs because the fermentation process was stronger than the plastic. So it leaked all over the refrigerator. So because we were so smart, he goes, well, I know what I'll do. And he poured it into an empty glass bottle of something else that he had drank, Absolute maybe, something like that. So he has this glass bottle sitting on top of the top shelf of whatever, and it is sealed up tight. And he's like, this one's not going to crack open. Well, after it exploded. And we come back from class one day. Thank God no one was in the room. We come back from class, and these other guys are waiting outside our dorm for us. Because they're like, we were here. We heard it. We need to see what happened. And there was apple cider leaking out from under the door. And, dude, we opened the door. There were glass shards stuck to the ceiling above where this thing exploded. And we were just picking up pieces of glass, and there was apple cider everywhere. It was awesome.
So how did you guys just clean it?
Yeah, we cleaned it, and we did not walk around in our dorm without shoes on for like the rest of the semester because our dorm was a mess. Like it was a mess.
But didn't it, like, obviously,
they're just a month later, you're finding chunks of glass that you just didn't know they were there.
Obviously dorms smell, but to me, that sounds like it would linger. Like, I can't imagine 2 18, 19-year-old guys cleaning a dorm well enough to get rid of that.
Well, but it was a lingering smell of like apple cider. It smelled like autumn. So, it fit the season. I don't know what to tell
you. I had a friend, and he went to school, and his roommate was somebody who he knew. They weren't friends, but they went to like rival schools, and they knew of each other. So they decided to room together because it was better than just having like a complete stranger. And by the end of the semester, you know how you used to have the dressers and you could move them? You had a desk, you had a bed, and you had a dresser. That was essentially the three, and each of you got your one. They got to the point where they literally couldn't stand each other, that they literally put the 2 dressers side by side in the middle of the room and put the desks on the other ends. So it was almost like a divider in the middle of the room because they almost were to the point where they couldn't stand to look at each other. So the whole design...
See, you're too young to get this, but the old people like me will remember the Happy Days episode where Ralph and Potsy drew a line down the middle of the apartment.
Yeah, if they would have used dressers and desks to draw the line, yes, it would have been the exact same thing.
See, I'd heard that with girls. Guys seemed to be more easygoing and more had fewer roommate problems than girls when I was in school. The experience. The people that I knew had the real problems were either one was like a junkie or an alcoholic, or the other one where somebody like moved their boyfriend or girlfriend in. And so every night it was like somebody was shacking up with his boyfriend or his girlfriend, and the other roommate was just kind of like stuck. So those were the issues. I don't really know of any who just purely hated each other.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, for the most part, there's a college campus. So, like, even my first roommate, even though we didn't get along, there was this idea like neither of us were in there very often. So it's not like we were around each other, you know. I mean, there were a lot of days where like we were around each other for 30 minutes and it was the 15 minutes before we fell asleep and the 15 minutes after we got up. So I think it's avoidable.
Yeah, I probably, and I don't know. I just know that, and maybe I just got lucky. Like I was stuck with some really good guys. So,
Yeah.
you know, there was none of that. Like when you got back and you were around, especially even with the people that were around you, there was never any like you hope so and so wasn't around, or because you know it was just so maybe I just got lucky.
You might have. All right. So here's the question that I'm going to drop on you today. Because I was trying to figure out what to talk about. And I mean, there's some trending topics, but it's a lot of it. Like I said before, the news today is just, it is all for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it has just been COVID, politics, Afghanistan. It's hard to find different things. Bloomberg Opinion put out a piece. There is an unusual amount of people in their 20s and 30s that are claiming that this is their midlife crisis. So I thought that was an interesting topic. I thought it would be a good one to bring up to you. Since it is inevitable, when is the best time to have a midlife crisis or have your midlife crisis? I thought this would be a good conversation for us and at least a good debate for us. Like if you know you're going to have one, do you want to have it in your 20s and get it out of the way? Are you having too good of a time in your 20s that you don't want to ruin it, so you're trying to wait until you're 30? When is the best time to actually have your midlife crisis?
Well, I would say, from a guy who's almost 50, and I think the midlife crisis has a ring to it. Like that is a heck of a title for a book or for a movie or something like that. I don't know if it's ever really been a crisis. I think for me, it's the day. Like as a kid, we are taught as you grow up, you go to school, you study hard, you get good grades, you get a job, you find a relationship, you have kids, and this is what you're supposed to do. And I think with younger and younger generations, they're kind of bucking that trend. And they're to the point of like, at least this generation now is kind of like, I'm not going to do that if that's not what I want to do. But it for a long time, especially our parents' generation, like that is all that you did. You did not, you got a normal job, you got married, you had kids, because if you didn't, you were looked on as a freak. And so anyway, I think what happened to all those people of that generation was when they wake up, they go to school, they get the grades, they get the job, they get married, they have the kids, and then they wake up and say, is this all there is? And they realize and now you're just supposed to smile and be happy and wait till you retire and die. And people I want more to life than just going to my 9-to-5 job. So that was really, for me, it's just kind of like a midlife awakening of, am I going to be happy if I do this over and over and over and over and over for the rest of my life? And I think it's when people have realized there's more to life than this. So I'm not the midlife crisis of the next generation. The next generation has been more, I don't say gutsier than we are, but they have just kind of stood up and said, no, I'm not doing that just because I'm supposed to do it. It doesn't work for me. So they'll be interesting.
Yeah, so the stat that I just put up is from the Bloomberg piece. This July, so this past summer, 2.3% of Americans under 45 left or are planning on leaving the labor force, compared to just 0.9% of Americans over 45. I think that stat can be taken two different ways. The 0.9 of Americans over 45, I think that might not necessarily be generational or labor driven as much as it is just like seeing the finish line and just like, I'm going to hang on and just try to get through that. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with because of the internet, because people see other opportunities to make money. Like I ran into a guy, a kid that I used to coach in basketball, and I'm going to say he's 20, 21-ish. And I asked him what he was doing, and he told me he had a summer job with, like a real summer job with UPS or FedEx or somebody, Wegman, some real company. And I asked him, is he still there? And he goes, no, now I'm just trading crypto. And, so he would count as somebody who left the labor force, but
right.
It doesn't mean he's not making money.
Right.
So, and there's no 51, I shouldn't say there's no, but there's much less 51-year-olds who are leaving their job to go trade crypto.
So I guess if Americans under 25, I mean, 2.3%, the weird part is that number doesn't sound like a lot, but when you put it in terms of labor force, like when you put it in terms of the population, it's a lot of people. Like it's a lot of people saying like, no, I'll just go do this instead. Because the biggest difference here is labor having a job or making money versus the labor force. Because there's this idea now, like it's much more acceptable in my generation to not join the labor force, like find another way, like figure it out, make more money, trade stuff, build stuff online. Like there's just so many other opportunities. So I don't even know if it's necessarily like, it's weird to me that someone would write this column and it's a midlife crisis because Americans under the age of 45 don't want to join the labor force. To me, that's not necessarily a midlife crisis. To me, that's just other people finding other opportunities and deciding what they want to do with it.
Or we've also trained many of these young people that just every couple months you get a stimulus check. And they're like, heck, what do I need to work for? So, there's that too.
Do you think so? I think most people, I think the stimulus is gone.
I hope so. But I listen.
You don't think so?
Who knows?
Yeah, I think the stimulus is gone. I think most younger people never saw that as like the end to like that was a viable resource.
No, I was just kidding, but it's
okay.
Yeah, I thought it was a good joke.
No, I understand.
By the way, do you see what's on the wall behind me? Can you tell what those are?
I can't tell what they are, but I saw one fall down.
It is a takeout bag from a Chinese restaurant.
Why is it on the wall?
Because she said the wall's so big and blank, we had nothing to put there, so we're hanging like stuff. So
that's definitely a college answer. Penn State Auburn this weekend.
Have I mentioned the chances of Penn State losing?
0? Is that what you're saying?
It is 0. There is a 0 chance. I'm pumped. I am really pumped to watch this game tomorrow night. And I know nothing about Auburn other than they're the other school in Alabama and they're undefeated and they're usually good at football. And Bo Jackson went there and Charles Barkley went there. Like, I can't name you a player. I don't know how good they are this year. It doesn't matter. There's no chance that Penn State loses. None.
So you and I just debated the whole USC Penn State thing and which jobs means more in college football and what should Franklin do. You may have seen this. It's going around. Penn State is the only college to host game day, ESPN's game day, 5 years in a row. So in the last 5 years, only one school has had them show up to campus every single year, and it is Penn State.
That's cool. I guess it just depends because you want it to be a big game. You want it to be a close game. So has Alabama and or Ohio State not had – there has to be some of those years where they're like, Ohio State's going to win by 30. Why are we going to go there? So that's cool. There is a great – Alabama and Florida are this weekend. So I assume using my context clues, I assume game day is going to be at Penn State.
Game day is going to be at Penn State for the whiteout.
So, yeah, that's cool. Did I tell you this story? And I totally – Penn State is a great job. USC is a great job too, though. That's where the argument came in. One of the other names that we didn't talk about, Urban Meyer, was drilled immediately about the USC job. And he denies that he's going. But that's another guy, because if there's anyone that would pack up and fly the coop in the middle of the season, I would suspect it'd be Urban. Did I tell you this story about Ohio State losing football games on days I go to concerts? Did I tell you this on the air?
No.
So last Saturday, I saw Guns N' Roses at the Hard Rock, which we talked about. And the same day, Ohio State lost at home to Oregon. And
Okay.
Ohio State doesn't lose college football games very often, especially regular season games. Whatever it was, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, my daughter, who I'm in her dorm now, went with me to Penn State to see Metallica. And at the same day, Ohio State lost to Purdue.
Okay.
So what Big Ten rival schools should do is they should buy me concert tickets and take care of the transportation, because every Saturday that I go to see a major concert during college football season, Ohio State loses.
That's a win-win.
And everyone hates Ohio State.
Everyone's happy except Ohio State in that scenario.
When Ohio State loses, there are 49 states that are happy. They are one of those schools.
I've heard that rumor. Some trending topics before I let you go and enjoy. Are you going to go enjoy Pittsburgh? Like, are you going to go, are you going to do the rounds?
Well, here's the deal. She's got this seminar thing at 4. So we're going to go get lunch right as soon as we're done with this. And then from like 2 to 4, I get to be a tourist of Pittsburgh, and it's nice. It's like 80 degrees here. It's really nice. So I'm going to walk around and window shop and be that old guy that's wandering around a campus with his old campus shirt on just to show people who's boss. But, so that's what I'm going to do. So give me a trending topic.
Here's some trending topics. The world's largest tree was wrapped in foil to try to protect it from California wildfires. General Sherman is 2,500 years old and 275 feet tall. Last year, a wildfire killed about 10,000 sequoia trees, which is what General Sherman is. So they are literally wrapping trees in foil to try to save them from the wildfires out west.
I mean, I've always wanted to go to Redwood National Park. That is a trek, because these things are hundreds of years old, and that is, that's really sad. That's really sad.
It is.
And I'm not
crazy.
I'm not necessarily a big nature guy, outdoor guy, tree hugger, but that's I've always had this affinity for those trees that are hundreds and hundreds of years old and they're huge. And if them burning down is really sad.
Yeah, the redwoods. Another one, the Clippers and Intuit signed a 23-year naming rights deal for the new $1.8 billion arena in Inglewood, California. 23 years.
Wait, the Clippers are moving out of the Staples Center?
They are moving out of the Staples Center.
Wow.
Moving on. Time to make their own identity.
Are they? Are they trying?
I think so.
I
think they're doing a nice job.
They're
doing
better.
There was a 5-6 year span where the Clippers were way more relevant than the Lakers.
Once they got rid of Donald Sterling, it certainly helped. But yeah.
Yes. But they were a better team. They were more entertaining. And to be honest, like, if LeBron James doesn't want to live in Hollywood, they still might not be very good.
I would agree with that.
Trying to see, there was one other one, and now I'm blanking on what it was, but I wanted to bring up.
Did you see where Biden? Oh, do you have?
Go ahead.
Did you see where Biden was in that thing with the Prime Minister of England and the Prime Minister, or Britain, or whatever you want to call it, and the Prime Minister of Australia? He forgot the Australian guy's name, and he said to the guy from down under. Now, I'm not making fun, because we've discussed my ability to remember names, which is almost, I can remember everything else with people's names. But he's standing up there, and I just forgot, who's the dude from England? The guy with the funky hair and Boris.
Yeah.
Is it Boris Johnson?
Yeah.
Is it Boris Johnson?
I'll look it up. It's Boris Johnson.
So he's like, hey, and then, I'm friends with Boris Johnson. And he turns to the other guy, and he goes to the guy from down under. And it's like there's times you're walking down the street and someone goes, hey, Jeff. And you're like, hey, dude. And it's like you're just trying to pretend that you know who it is and you don't know who it is. So you just he called him the guy from, I thought it was great.
My girlfriend says that the word for me is boss. Anytime I get confused or I don't want to mess up, I just call him boss. Hey, boss.
So you've just given that secret away over the air. Well
That's
done.
okay. It's okay. As you would say, no one's watching. All right, go enjoy the city. Enjoy reminiscing your college years. You have a big weekend coming up, right?
It's a lot different. What'd you say?
You have a big weekend coming up. Speaking of like reminiscing your college years, right?
Like this weekend or in the future?
I don't know. You were telling me about a
Oh,
weekend that is your college reunion.
that my yeah, I don't know what they were coming. I don't know what year it is. They kind of text and say, because I'm only here we go. I'm only an hour away, so they kind of text me and tell me when they're coming to town, and I go. 'Cause one's in Jersey, and a couple of us are still like relatively close, and some have gone further, and one's in Memphis, and so yeah, he said he's not coming, and because he was supposed to, but he can't. So so yeah, I just like that'll be like a Thursday kind of head count. And because when you go to college an hour away, you can just drive there, and you know what it's like. You're just like, hey, people in town, so let's go. Or you don't have to do a logistical. And now my kids are old enough that even if I have them that weekend, I'm just like, hey, I'm going to a football game in Susquehanna. You want to go? And they're like, no. And then and then they stay home. So it's good. It's living.
All right, nice. Well,
are you going to be during game day? Are we going to see your big ears in the background?
You might, you may see me at game day. So if you turn on ESPN, I don't think we'll actually go to the site, like the crowd where they hold up the signs and they do the show and everything. I doubt we will do that, but I will be in State College for the weekend. So,
and you have not only are you not going to the game, you have no desire to go into the stadium.
I just think that's not like it's probably, I wouldn't mind going in, but it is not my objective. I've gone into games, but rarely. My favorite thing to do is go tailgate, leave, go downtown, find the right bar, get the right seat, get the right drink, enjoy the game. And then when everybody floods down afterwards, you're set up. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to do anything. And you got to enjoy the game with a better view anyway.
And you are not alone in this. There's lots of people who believe that the best part of the game is not going into the game. It's just the environment. And then either listening to the game on the radio or watching it. Now you can watch it on all these devices or going downtown. So, yeah, I know there's 100,000 people who want to go in, but there's a lot of people like you who are like, it's just as fun doing it some other way.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to be packed. This should be a good time.
Did I tell you Penn State's chances of losing?
0. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news. And Mark, get home safe.
Well, first I'm going to eat. That is first and foremost. And then I'm going to try to get home safe, but on a full stomach.
I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina, and we will see you guys next week.
Enjoy your weekend.